There are 252 different ways 5 dice can land. That's just one roll. Now factor in 2 more rolls per turn, 13 scoring categories, and the order you fill them in, and you end up with a decision tree so large that no human has ever fully mapped it by hand. But what if I told you a computer already has? It played millions of games, it tried every reasonable strategy, and it found the actual mathematically optimal way to play Yahtzee. Today we're breaking down 5 things it discovered. The real value of a single game played perfectly, the one category you're probably saving for the wrong reason, the moment in the endgame where most people quietly throw away points, the choice in the middle game that separates good players from great ones, and the single hardest decision in the entire game, the one that happens before you've even rolled a die. Quick refresher in case it's been a while. You roll 5 dice and you get up to 2 rerolls, keeping whatever you want between rolls. At the end of your turn, you lock your result into one of 13 categories, things like 3 of a kind, a full house, or a straight, and each category can only be used once per game. Score high in the top half and you get a 35-point bonus. Fill every box and add it up, that's your final score. Simple rules, brutal math underneath. So how big is this problem, really? On any single roll, there are 252 distinct dice combinations once you ignore the order the dice landed in. Across 3 rolls, with every possible keep and reroll decision in between, the number of paths through a single turn climbs into the tens of thousands. Multiply that by 13 turns, where your earlier choices change what's smart later, and you get a game tree with more branches than there are cells in your body. A brute force computer can't just guess its way through that. It has to work backward. This is the trick that makes it solvable. Instead of starting from turn 1, the computer starts from turn 13, your very last category, and calculates the perfect value of every possible dice and scorecard combination at that point. Then it steps back to turn 12 and asks, given what I now know about how turn 13 will go, what's the best move here? Keeps walking backward, turn by turn, until it reaches the very first roll of the game. This is called dynamic programming, and it turns an impossible problem into a solvable one small decision at a time. And the headline number it spits out is this: played perfectly, with every roll and every category chosen optimally, the expected score of a game of Yahtzee is about 254 points. Not the maximum possible score, which is a wildly rare 1575. The average result of flawless play forever is 254. Let's start at the end, because the endgame is where the clearest rules live. With only a couple of categories left, your decisions are the most constrained, and also the easiest to get wrong. Here's the first counterintuitive one. If Yahtzee is your very last open category and you roll anything other than 5 of a kind, you should almost never chase it on your final reroll. Take the guaranteed points sitting in whatever category is left instead. Second, a full house late in the game is worth locking in the moment you roll one. Don't gamble it away trying to upgrade to a straight. The straight only pays off about 40% of the time from a random full house reroll. Third, when your only remaining boxes are low-value ones, like 1s or 2s, don't be afraid to zero them out early if it protects a bigger category. A strategic zero can be worth more than the 6 points you'd force into it. Fourth, chasing the top section bonus in your last 2 turns almost never pays off, because you need a specific run of 6s or 5s to make up the gap, and the odds are usually worse than just taking points elsewhere. Why does this all feel backwards? Because our instinct is to protect the big scary categories until the end. When the math says the opposite, lock in your rare hits the second they appear. The middle game is where priorities really diverge from instinct. Around turns 5 through 9, you're juggling multiple open categories with roughly similar value, and the trick the computer uses is converting everything into what's called expected value, basically asking, if I chose this box right now, what's the long-run average payoff compared to saving it? This lets you compare a full house sitting in your hand right now against the possibility of a large straight 2 turns from now, 2 totally different shapes on the same scale. The big takeaway here is that the top section, 1s through 6s, is worth protecting more aggressively than most players think, because that 35-point bonus is really a hidden 14th category, and losing it quietly costs you more than any single bad roll in the bottom section. What's safe to sacrifice in the middle game? Chance. It's the one box built to be a release valve, and the optimal strategy treats it that way, saving it for whatever turn produces your single worst roll, not spending it early just because nothing else looks great. Now the opening, which is honestly the hardest part of the whole game, because it's the least constrained. Every category is still open, so every choice ripples forward for the next 12 turns. On your very first roll of the game, the single best strategy, more often than any other option, is to keep any pair you rolled and go for 3 or 4 of a kind, because it keeps the most future categories alive at once: full house, 3 of a kind, 4 of a kind, even a shot at Yahtzee, all from one flexible keep. The runner-up is keeping a partial straight for sequential numbers when you roll one, since large straights are rarer to complete later but pay out heavily when they land. And the one hard rule here: never re-roll a full house away on your opening turn hoping to upgrade it into something bigger. A full house locked in turn 1 is close to the ceiling of what that roll can be worth, so cash it in. All of this assumes a vacuum, you against pure probability. Real games have an opponent, and that changes things. Against a real player, The optimal strategy shifts from maximizing your own expected score to maximizing your chance of beating theirs, which sounds similar but isn't. If you're behind late in the game, the mathematically correct move is to take on more variance. Chase the risky Yahtzee reroll even when the expected value says don't, because a guaranteed small lead you're not carrying does you no good. If you're ahead, you flip completely and start playing to minimize your opponent's chances, sometimes taking the safer, lower value option on purpose. A simple heuristic for knowing which mode you're in: compare your running total to 254 divided by 13, roughly 19.5 points per turn completed so far. If you're above that pace, you're playing with a lead. If you're below it, you're playing from behind. So how far can this actually scale? One person playing perfectly averages 254 points a game. Get 10 friends playing perfectly and simultaneously, and statistically, one of them lands a score over 300 almost every single sitting. Scale that up to an office of 200 people all playing one round each, and you'd expect at least one true Yahtzee, 5 of a kind on the very first roll, odds of 1 in 1296, to happen roughly 6 times that day. Push it to a stadium of 50,000 people, and by pure math, somebody in that crowd rolls the maximum possible score of 1575 about once. And if you handed dice to every person on Earth and had them all play a single perfect game, you'd expect a small cluster of people, probably a few thousand, to roll actual back-to-back Yahtzees in the same game, a feat so unlikely for any one person that most players never see it in a lifetime. That's the whole game, broken down to its studs, a puzzle small enough to fit in your hand and big enough to need a computer to fully understand. Thanks for sticking around this deep into the math with me, it means a lot. If you want to go even further, there's more detail on the strategy waiting for you. Just check the links below.